Elige is back to Liquid. And I think the question everyone has is, does this actually change anything? Does this make them better? You can see they've announced it. Elige is back when he had hair in this picture, shaking hands with Twist. Also, by the way, I feel like my hair is like the longest and craziest it's been in a while for the Elige video, which I'm sorry, Elige, I'm not trying to do you dirty. I know that you ain't got hair. Like that's all it is. Also, I don't know how Twist did it back in the day because I'm struggling to manage this. Twist had long hair and he styled it out. But okay, let's get into some of these statements. Firstly, Twist came out with his tweet. And I think the most important thing or interesting thing here is him saying, never any issues outside of the game. Okay, so it must have been issues inside of the game. That's what I'm reading from that immediately. Like, I know he's trying to be nice and saying everyone was lovely outside the game. That means you have problems inside the game, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be leaving. And then he goes ahead and just, thanks everyone. And then also, this is the other interesting one. Flashy, I didn't know how much impact a coach could have, but what you have created and worked on over the past 2 months is incredible. You're perfect for the role. I mean, listen, like, maybe that's all true. But if that is true, it does seem like a bit of a weird time to leave. Like, oh, we got this great coach in, but I'm peacing out. I don't know. I guess if you have got the opportunity to go back to FaZe, it could still make sense here for Twists that even though Flashy's a really good coach, he just sees this as too good of an opportunity, especially because, trust me when I tell you, players a lot of the time, they love the nostalgia of thinking that they can just go back to the way things were. Like the amount of times you see teams pick up a player who we all know he's past his best. We all know it's probably not going to work, but he's the known name and everyone respects him and everyone thinks they can just roll it back to how it used to be, right? Like the Snacks in-game leader, that was the classic where even though I thought it might work, kind of felt like they just went for the big name and they were like, this is a known guy who's always been good. Let's go back to that, right? And I guarantee you Twists is thinking, I can go back to FaZe. I'm going to help out Carrigan. I'm going to help this team, give them the X factor again. And like, why shouldn't he, right? I think if you're a pro, that's how you have to think. Okay, Elige also had his statement. Oh, sorry, I call him Big John because he follows me. Big John. Not as much to say here, just that he's happy to be back. Feels like a very Elige statement. I kind of only showed that to flex that Elige follows me, obviously. Sorry, Big John, because we're friends like that. Okay, moving on though. Okay, does this actually fix them? I mean, firstly, you look at the stats for the year, and it's hard to make the case for it, right? Because look at these numbers, right? Here are the former players. JKS, RIP. Well, he's still on FlyQuest, but they lost against some team I've barely heard of today, so not ideal. But Twists was basically their only star player and star fragger, right? Now, obviously, throughout some of this time period, he was in-game leading, and we all know that didn't really work that well, and maybe he was like calling in a way that helped himself. I could definitely see that. But you'd want more out of Nerds, really. You'd want more out of Ultimate than this. You want more out of Naf. Even if he was being like more of a supportive player, you'd want more than this, and you want more out of Shuhei. Like, none of these numbers inspire confidence, do they? Right? And you look, that was for the whole year. You look at the last 3 months. Okay, Naf's actually trended up slightly. That is actually nice. And if Naf is going to turn into like more of a supportive player, that's actually really good. I don't know what you really want from Naf, and I think that's something we'll get into. Twist actually fell off ever so slightly, but some of these games are wild. They're gone already. And again, like Ultimate and Nerds, they're not doing much. Shuhei, they're all like slightly down on their numbers. So none of this fills you with confidence, right? If I'm looking at this and saying, okay, it's the best fragger that's gone, sure, we get Elige in, but unless something really like fundamentally changes for the team as a whole, which we need to have proof and belief that can happen. Initially, you feel like this isn't going to change much, but I think it could. Okay? And we'll get into it because firstly, there was this little uptick of form, right? And I think we're probably all thinking this is because Twist was already gone and there wasn't really like a dead team scenario can sometimes buff a team. It all gets a bit weird. Maybe there wasn't as much pressure. But there actually was some pressure on these games because they needed to do well to really like get themselves in good position for the major. By the way, that's my computer that just made that noise, in case you're wondering. But they needed to get into good position in their qualifying for the major. So there was kind of some pressure on these games, and they did well. And it's always nice to get a few wins like this just for the confidence of the players again, right? And they did that. Like, they actually did a pretty good job. The loss against the Mongols, I mean, they got their map. It was pretty one-sided, but I think that's what we expected, realistically. But that is something, and it also kind of coincides with the flashy guy, the new coach, coming in a couple months ago. Maybe he is starting to have some impact on the players. Maybe that is, right, some sort of say coming through there. If we look at Elige personally, though, I do feel like Elige is always going to be at his best. And this is his best year in 2019, where Liquid were winning loads, right? He's always going to be at his best in a team where there are like quite a few good players around him, right? This was the best team. And obviously, they just had such a plethora of talent. Like, their in-game leader was Nitro, who had a 1.04 rating this year. That is so good to have, right? But Elige was the best player here. Like, he is capable of being your leading player. At least he has been historically with the 1.21 rating. But he needs very good players around him, right? He needs a NAF with a 1.18, Twist with a 1.14, and Stewie, who it felt like was kind of the X factor on this team with the 1.07, who maybe just like freed things up slightly to allow Elige to get into nicer entry positions, just because Stewie was so wild with some of his entries that it kind of opened up the map and helped out, right? And if you remember this team, it literally felt like this team was, okay, you've got Elige, the main guy, the go-to guy, very reliable, and just like such a beast on entries constantly and so reliably good at just getting his output that you always backed him. And then you had Naf, who was kind of the super like late round player, super thinking player, and he would always be so reliable in those sorts of scenarios. So you had those two as the 1-2 punch that worked together perfectly in that sense. And then Twist was kind of like the third guy on this team who always had that really snappy and really like quick, crisp aim. And he always looked like the best mechanically because of that. But he maybe was a little more inconsistent at times, right? And so at least you kind of had that consistent spray style, just consistently would get you like 2Ks and 3Ks that would just carry you through over and over again. And so it's not impossible that he can get back to that, right? But I'm showing this to show you, I think he needs a good team around him. I don't think he's the kind of guy that's going to be like, yes, I am now the main man. Everyone bow down to me. Okay, in terms of numbers, last 3 months for Liquid, this is the overall win rate for teams in the top 20. It's not great for Liquid, right? It's not great. But actually, their T side has been like a little bit better. It's not been that bad. And the thing that excites me, looking at these numbers, the thing that really excites me about this move is that when Liquid get into a man advantage scenario on T side, they're actually winning it a really good amount of the time, right? This is on par with the Mongols. This is actually slightly better than Vitality. This is a really good number to have, right? This is a better win rate when they get the advantage on T side than Spirit. The difference is Spirit have donk, so they get into so many advantage situations that it doesn't matter. They win so many T rounds just because of that. Liquid are just not getting into these positions, right? Like this is a pretty bad number. Only 39% of the time are they getting the opening on T side. And the thing that excites me about that is if you can keep this up, if this is something where it's within the team that when they get the advantage, they're actually pretty good at closing it. And I think that is the case because I do believe in Shui. Then if Liquid have Elige and he's just going to get you more openings and get you into more advantage scenarios, okay, suddenly I can believe way more in this team because, again, I've never thought that Shuei's calling was bad. It just seemed like for whatever reason, like this team was not working and it's always not really made sense because you look at it on paper and it looks like it should be quite good. So that's already one place that I think could be very good because we know how good Elige is on T side. That could help one of the strengths of this team. And the other thing that is kind of interesting is it's the CT side recently where Liquid have sucked. And more importantly, this 64%, you're only winning when you have the advantage on CT 64% of the time. This is so much lower than all of the best teams, right? This is a bad number to have. And this kind of shows me like some of the issues I think we've had with Liquid are just that sometimes the decisions just seem weird and it just seems like they're not on the same page and you just see them throw away around where you're like, how is it even possible that you lost that? Like, what is going on between you? Like the communication just must be off or something, right? Something must be weird. But the reason why we can maybe have some hope here is the new coach. If you don't know Flashy, he used to be the analyst for Na'Vi. Now, at first, when I talked about him, I kind of thought that he wasn't a good fit for Liquid because I've always thought of like American teams, NA teams, as very like loose in the way they want to play. And I just thought that having like Na'Vi's former analyst come in as your coach, I just thought that wouldn't work, right? And I kind of still think with someone like Twists especially, I think he does want to play like kind of loose. And I think that's why he kind of worked on FaZe, because Karrigan is like not the most, like, how do I put it? Structured, like always wanting every little detail IGL, right? He's very happy to mid-round call, and I think that's where Twist can also be very good. So I think it can work both ways. But actually, when I think of Elige, I think he could work here. I think Elige does his best work when a team is quite structured and he knows all of what's going to go on and he knows exactly the entry pathing and who's going to be in front of him. Like, when everything is controlled, Elige is at his best. That's what I want to say. And if Flashy can implement that alongside Shuhei, who I think might need a strong coach alongside him, based on what we've seen when he had Cyclone, right? Maybe that's what he needs. And suddenly, maybe there is that sign of improvement, especially when it is these silly mistakes on CT. I'm like, maybe Elige can come in, the team play can be better, Flashy can maybe come in with some ideas as to how to make sure we're not throwing away these advantage situations, and maybe it can work, right? And there is the question of, okay, that uptick of form at the end, it's probably because it was that sort of weird situation where it's a dead team and you get the buff. But is any of it because of Flashy? Maybe. He's only come in recently. I think it's hard to tell. I think this is where we will know for sure. And I don't mind it. Now, right, when I look down the lineup now, I think that Naf actually probably would like quite a structured coach. I think Elige would. I think Shuhei would. I think Nuts, he seems like he's a bit more in the middle to me. Like, he wouldn't mind a looser team. He wouldn't mind that sort of play style. And Ultimate, I'm not sure he would love this. He seems like he kind of just wants the freedom to, like, go for picks. And he's maybe the player on this team I'm least sure of. But you look at some of the other players, right? I'm going to show you Nuts. Right? This is clearly when he joined Liquid. And I'm like, for such a young player, I just don't believe that this can continue, right? Like, it can't just be that suddenly his career has been killed and this is the level of player he is now, right? He can't just be averaging this sort of rating forever. I just don't believe that, because a lot of this time period, he's on Heroic and he's playing against decent teams and he's always fluctuating above like a 1 rating. Like, I think this guy is good. I think he's good and capable of going in early. I think he's good and capable of playing in the late round. And that's the other thing that I think is interesting. You have Shuhei, who's definitely willing to sacrifice individually as an in-game leader. You have Naf now, who, like, I'm not sure about him. Like, we'll look at his numbers, because this is his all-time numbers. This looks crazy, man. This dip looks crazy. Like, 0.79 rating during this little time period here. It's only a 29 map sample, but that seemed impossible. Look at how long he was just good. He was just like solid. You were just like, yep, I've got Naf on my team. We've got a solid, good, like second star player on my team. I don't need to worry about that, right? But eventually people get older, man. And like, the nice thing is, okay, this is looking more recently, just from like 2018 time. And you can see he was maybe slightly slowing off, but then this is actually when CS2 came out. He started so well. It's just a complete fall off. And at least the recent recovery is there, and that's something, right? And maybe, again, it is just the dynamics of the team where they just got into this negative spiral and they just kind of stopped believing when the whole Twist in-game leader thing happened. That can really affect a team, so it wouldn't surprise me. But you look at how this team is structured now and you think to yourself, it feels like it should make some sense, right? The thing is, though, it felt like the previous team should make sense, and it somehow didn't. But I look at it, I'm like, Elige, okay, yes, can solve getting those entries on T side, and they actually seem to be pretty good at converting those recently. And I still think Shuhei is a good in-game leader, and I just wonder, again, whether Flashy could be the answer. He maybe could be. Nuts, I have to believe, I thought this guy was going to be really good on Liquid. I honestly thought he was going to be great. I think he should be the second best player on this team. For me, that's what he needs to be. And I think now we need to see it. And I think we should. I think we should, right? Unless Liquid are just cursed, which maybe they are, I think we should. Ultimate is the one I'm not 100% sure about. I kind of just feel like he's that classic AWPer for me, that I think he can do well against worse competition, but I don't think he can take that step up. But we'll see. And then Naf, I mean, I think he can be fine. Like, you can slowly turn him into more of a kind of supportive player. Like maybe Nertz gets more freedom and more of the better roles now because Nertz is capable in the late round. But at the same time, Nertz doesn't always want to be in the late round. Like he wants to take some opening moves as well. So that's something you've got to consider. How are you going to balance that between Naf and Nertz? But maybe you do get Nertz in some late round scenarios. And then I also think actually Shuhei's numbers should get a bit better from this because Elige is sometimes just going to want to take the entry on himself. And that means Shuhei won't have to sacrifice quite as much being just like the first guy in, allowing his teammates to trade. But I also think Shuhei will be very willing to allow Elige to trade off of him. If it's like a bad entry route into a bomb site, yeah, I think like that can work out fine. Overall, I think the main thing you have to believe in is just the coach aspect. If you believe that this team is going to significantly change, you have to believe in the coach aspect, and you have to believe that Elige's improvement in getting them opening kills is going to really help them on that T side, right? And also, like, as I was saying, like these CT numbers, right? I'm sorry, they're just so bad that I have to believe that this is just like fundamental just mistakes happening between the players and between teammates, and that can improve, right? It feels like that has to improve, right? And they didn't have a coach for the longest time, or they had their analyst as their coach. If Flashy is the guy, I think this team should be able to turn into a pretty good team. I've come up with my reasons as to why. Let me know what you guys think. If I have to give you my gut instinct right now, I think they'll improve. I think they will improve. I don't think they will instantly become like a really scary team, but I think they'll be like around knocking on the top 10. Maybe they'll sneak into the top 10. I think they'll get there. I just think Elige gives you that much. And also, I believe in Shuhei, and I actually do believe that Flashy can help this team. I think having that coach, I think it's going to help a lot. And as I said, I just think Elige is a little more suited to how Flashy might want to play. And also, the other thing is, I wonder if Twist would even want to buy in to this new coach when you kind of know you might be out the door soon, or you feel like things just aren't going well. New coach in, has had a chance to get onto terms with the players, and now Elige comes in, and I think he should be suited to the coach. These are things that I think should work well. I think it can work. I do think it can, but I'm looking at Nertz. I need more from him. I hope we get it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you next time.